Hi, everybody. We have a great panel, and I say that because I know we're coming between you and resting in the room and a fantastic dinner tonight, and I know we've had a full power day, but we're saving the best for last, and we're really looking forward to having what we hope will be an interactive discussion. The panelists and I have worked really, Winston Churchill once said, I would write a longer letter, but I would write you a shorter letter, but I didn't have the time. So I have set a really serious challenge to the panelists for 2 slides only, because what we would really, in 5 minutes, no more, and I'm going to be a bit of a dictator about that in my position as moderator. And it's for a reason, because I've learned through the years that the best part of the Global Forum is the chance to exchange ideas and interact with all of the great brains that come from all over the world. And that's the piece that is so unique about this forum, is just the high caliber of attendance in the audience, not just the stage. So the goal and the challenge I set for the panel, Stefan and myself, as our chair, is to give us 2 slides that will challenge us, kickstart some thinking, and get a discussion going. I'll start the discussion asking each panelist a question or 2 after their presentation, but our real goal is to have a good substantive exchange. So if you have a burning question after a panelist has talked, please feel free to ask it, and our aim will be to have a good half-an-hour discussion amongst us all at the end. I'll do one more plea if anybody wants to kind of move up, because this room isn't really amenable to the interactive participatory dialogue we want, but just please do feel free to join us at the table if that's appealing to you. The topic of our panel was very broad: digital life, world, empowering society. And we thought that to add some focus to it, we wanted to link the topic of the digital life or the digital world to what's one of the biggest, aside from the Pope, one of the biggest stories in the news today, which is the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals, the 17 goals that member states have been working on for the last 2 years, and that has just been ratified by the General Assembly. Because we really do believe that IT has a really powerful, I would argue, having worked on these goals at the UN myself for the last 2 years, a critical force in driving sustainable development. And one of the areas I've asked the panelists to think about and kickstart some ideas is the relationship between IT, the sharing economy, and sustainable development. Because the notion of sharing that IT facilitates puts a whole new challenge to the consumptive sort of capitalist focus on acquisition of goods and constantly buying and selling and replacing. And it leads us not just into what I found Pope Francis's very inspirational message about community and sharing and giving in a less commercial, less material life, but also concepts of the circular economy, and not constantly buying, throwing away, but borrowing, sharing, and in a manner that brings people together. So that'll be the focus of a lot of our discussions today. We've woven the panel so that we'll have some high-level discussions, and then we'll have some very interesting practitioner discussions of critical components of IT and a digital society and the sharing economy, like security, of course, like privacy, of course, different components like ID cards. So hopefully we'll go like this. It won't be too much of a roller coaster, and our end goal, as I said, will be to really get ideas from you and have a really good discussion that we take back into our day-to-day lives. Without further ado, it gives me great pleasure to introduce Stefan Nordahl, who's our chair for today's session. He's also the Chief Strategic Officer of Acela in Norway. And it's a real privilege for me to have Stefan by my side today, chairing the panel with me, because this is one of the startups in Europe that is creating a new model of European innovation that's really exploring the challenges of the digital economy and the empowered digital world from a European perspective. The challenge of a startup in Europe breaking onto the global stage with applications that have real meaning and relevance for us all. And I think that that's a really, instead of always talking about Uber and Airbnb, I'd really like to start talking about some of those European companies that directly or indirectly are facilitating digital life. So without further ado, Stefan.
Thanks, Julia.